Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Bjorn?
Pretty good. Pretty good. You doing all
Busy?
right?
Yeah, everything is good. Busy days there.
Pretty busy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we just started doing interviews, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot for sure.
Oh, that's a
But
good,
I'm happy for the support and people are excited, so that's very
yeah,
cool.
that's a good sign anyway. And I was listening to the album. Obviously, it's another great record. I absolutely love the 80s sound that you guys can recreate somehow. I don't know how you do it, but you do it well. Songs
Oh,
are
thank you.
when did you
Thank
guys
you so much.
when did you guys start working on the songs for Give Us the Moon?
I would say about 1.5 year ago. Um, But there's never really any like starting date. Everything, like all the albums and songwriting sessions, kind of blend together because we never really stop. It's a very creative unit, and we really like to get together and hang out around music. So, whether there's an album planned or not, we like to, if we have some songs, we book the studio, Nordic Sound Lab, and we go there for a weekend or a long weekend or a week sometimes, and we record some songs. And it's yeah, I mean, it's like we're drinking and cooking and recording songs. It's a really nice vibe. And yeah, I guess it reflects on the music in many ways as well.
Yeah, and speaking of that, this is the first album, obviously, without David Anderson,
Yeah,
passed away 3 years ago.
yeah.
Do you still use any ideas that he had on this album, or there was nothing left from his riffs, melodies?
Hmm.
Was there any?
I mean, that's an endless vault. He was so productive. He wrote so many songs, and even after he passed away, we found songs, that he wrote in Swedish as well, and it was I don't know, it was a weird situation. We were grieving, and still are in many ways, and but we also wanted it to turn it around and turn it into something positive in the end, because we know that's exactly what David would have wanted. And in fact, we talked about it on in on his deathbed, basically. And I asked him, like, you feel, I really want to continue doing this, it's going to feel weird without you, but and he said, of course you should do that. There's so much more that you guys will express. You have so much more um to do. And so we kept on going, and trying to turn this into something really positive and uplifting was a really big challenge. But we were digging very, very deep, and David has been very, very present in everything we've done.
Yeah,
And there's actually one song that he wrote that's on the album, like the beating of a heart. It was actually written for a project that me and David were gonna have, that didn't really happen. And then I've been thinking about that song for quite ever since then. It's like, oh, that's such a great song, and maybe it could have worked for Night Flight. And then I talked to his kids and his ex-wife, and they gave their blessing to do it. And so yeah, he wrote that song, and the rest of it is written by us in the band. And it was also important to us to start fresh, and to also build a lot of self-confidence, to be able to stand on our own feet. And of course, David was such a big part of the band, but we also wanted you know him to sort of take that legacy. And both me and Sebastian have written a lot of songs in the past as well, and now we have Rasmus as well. um, and we all felt that David was very present when we were composing, and And I especially felt it when I wrote Stewardess, Empress, Hot Mess, and the Captain of Pain. And I've never written like this kind of an epic song before, but I did it, and I'm not sure how it happened. So I felt that he was very present when I wrote that song,
Yeah,
and I don't really believe that much in that these things, but there was something special about it.
yeah. Well, I guess
Yeah,
when you spend so much time, working with someone, I think it's natural that when you start working again in the same place, in the same, in this case, music, you take a bit of that with you as
yeah,
well. I mean,
yeah,
and I think it's impossible when you work with someone for a long time, whatever work it is, that when you start doing something else or start in a new place, that you don't
yeah,
bring some of that, you know, work
yeah,
ethic, whatever, into what you're going
yeah,
to do next.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's part
Exactly.
I think it's part of it. So, there's not really like a time when you guys start working, but do you remember the first song that was finished for Give Us the Moon?
Let me see here. I think that must have been Shooting Velvet. That's definitely one of the first ones. Yeah, yeah.
It's a nice song. It's one of the singles. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. First single. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. I think it has Night Flight Orchestra signature sound over it. It's very sort of easy to dance to, but it's also full of cool arrangements and melodies, and yeah, so some surprises too. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
at the end of Stratus, the first song on this album, I mean, after the intro,
yeah,
the song finishes with "It's going to be a long and interesting flight."
yeah.
Okay, so you want to explain? It's just it's the journey that the album takes us. It's that what you're referring, or is there something more in those words?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually Sebastian who created that outro, and I just thought, you know what, that's exactly what it is. It's going to take you on what a journey it's going to take you on. It's a lot to take in, you know. It's a lot of songs, and it's a pretty long album, but I think it's diverse enough, and you know, it will take you on. It's very multi-layered, I would say, you know, and it's very uplifting and full of happiness, but it also has that dose of typical Scandinavian melancholy and you know, sentimental vibes and but still, you know, it has that sort of ABBA balance that I mean, that's always been inspiring to us, you know, that the way that ABBA wrote quite complicated arrangements and music, but everything sounded very direct.
Yeah,
And it also was it had that sort of melancholic vibe through it, but it could be so uplifting and something that you really want to dance to as well, you know? So
yeah.
it's always a guiding star for us, you know? I know it gets pretty old that Swedish bands just name drop ABBA all the time, but
It's not
I
just.
think what we're, yeah.
I don't think it's just Swedish bands. I think
Mm,
I think every time I think of music in a way, there's three bands for me: ABBA,
mm.
Beatles, and Queen.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
those for me are three bands that if I'm going to think about music growing
Mm,
up, that's what my dad had at home. And those are the bands that I started listening and that
mm.
led me to a more heavier side of music. For
Yeah, yeah,
as weird as it may sound, but
yeah.
those were the bands that led me into heavy metal.
Yeah, he did a very good job, I
Yeah.
must say. And, that's some really nice introduction, you
Yeah.
know,
And
to music.
ABBA were masters in writing great melodies and music. I mean, every song is a freaking banger. We can name the all the songs,
Mm.
and one way or another, there were always great songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love how they were really, sort of painting with music. It's like so. I mean, you can also tell they also did quite a journey, and they released so many albums in quite a short time, when you think about it, and it ended up with the last album, Visitors, which has a very special vibe over it. It's super underrated, I would say. You could really feel that it's the end of the line and that they're all separating. There's divorce, but yeah, it's uh what a great craft,
Yeah,
and that just keeps inspiring in so many ways. Yeah, and it's funny how you also mentioned before. It's like a lot of bands from all over the world mention them, and I would say especially metal bands too, which is
yeah.
quite you know cool.
I think if you want to write a good melody, listen to ABBA or Swedish bands in general.
Yeah,
They
yeah. I mean,
freaking know how to do it. It's whatever it's in the water. As we say here, whatever it's in the water, it works. And
yeah.
you guys, I think in Sweden, it's not to say anything bad about any other country, but when it comes to music, you guys are masters with melody. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it's Sabbath's fault. Let's
I
blame
have a theory.
it.
I have a theory, actually. I've been thinking about I've gotten this question a million times, but I actually have a theory now, which I might might be some truth to it. It's because Swedish people are not so social, I would say, and we're not very talkative, and melodies has become is our language. It was our way of expressing ourselves without having to interact with other people. I think that's what I mean, I can really relate. I mean, I always felt that I was better at communicating through melodies,
Yeah,
or expressing myself
yeah,
through melodies rather than actually in words.
yeah,
And I've become a better lyricist over time as well, but I still feel like a melody is always closer. It's my first choice of weapon. I was gonna say when I need to express myself.
yeah. I don't know. I haven't never been to Sweden. I've been to Denmark, and I don't know what is with the. I not. I know they have nothing against people. They just don't look you in the eye. They're not. They don't seem very
No,
friendly because they don't know you. But,
right,
I'm Portuguese, and normally, when
yeah,
we see someone, even if we don't know, it's like we give a hug, a handshake, whatever. We are
yeah,
very physical. Hispanic
yeah,
people in general are very
yeah,
physical
yeah.
communicating. And you guys are the polar opposite of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. But then when you get to know a Swede, you have a friend for life, I would say.
Yeah,
But at first, yeah, we seem quite, minding our own business kind of thing, and we don't really need like to interact too much, or we're just too shy. I mean, I don't know. It is interesting. I always find myself being somewhere in the middle.
yeah,
I'm incredibly Swedish at times, and sometimes not at all. But probably because I've traveled so much.
yeah,
But if I didn't, I probably would have been 100% Swedish who wouldn't look anybody in the eye. I don't know. I mean, that's not always the case, but I
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely see what you're saying. I
yeah.
definitely see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
speaking of that line of to be a long and interesting flight, throughout your career, you probably had very long flights, very
Yeah.
interesting flights, probably very boring ones.
Mm.
Do you remember the longest flight you had and the most interesting that you really cannot put into words.
Okay. Okay. Well, the longest one must have been, I'm trying to think here. If we're flying London to Sydney, I think that's like 15. It's insane.
Yeah,
That's way too long. I enjoy flying, but it's like the perfect flight, I mean, if you're going somewhere, it's like a 3, 4 hour flight with some nice cocktails and good music and you know some good leg room. It's always
yeah,
nice. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like a love-hate relationship. It really
yeah,
is. Flying, and but it's every time you take off, it's that special feeling that it's so hard to beat.
yeah. For me, I used to love flying, but with age, it's becoming quite,
Yeah,
annoying to like another 3 hour flight. And it's not that long, really, because I put music, as you said, and normally I fall asleep easily on the
yeah. Oh,
flight.
you can fall asleep.
I
Lucky you. I
can.
I I mean, yeah. I mean, if I have quite a few drinks, then and I didn't sleep much the night before, then I can sort of fall asleep on a
Yeah.
flight, but normally not. No.
We did 2001, I think, when we did our first trip to Vacan here, with the magazine and the people from the magazine. We rented a van
No.
and we traveled to Germany. And
Yeah.
I was on the back seat, not on purpose, but because I was not going to drive anyway, but I was on the back seat. And I just remember, leaving Porto. I remember waking up somewhere in the middle of Spain because we did a pit stop, and then
Yeah.
somewhere in outside Paris. And
Yeah.
the next part I remember, we were already in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam for a day, to rest and sleep there. That's all I remember
Right.
from that.
Wow.
All the rest of the travel, I was just sleeping in the back seat.
Wow. Amazing. I wish I could do that. It's the art of sleeping.
Yeah.
You don't even know how lucky you are, I was gonna say. Yeah.
No,
That's amazing.
I fall asleep quite easily. It can be a train, can be a flight, can be a car. If I'm not
Yeah.
driving, you know, I'll sleep
Yeah.
anyway. And obviously, with another album, there's more new songs. You guys are going to do European tour, playing for the first time in Portugal in February.
Yeah.
Set list wise, how you guys going to work it out? Have you guys thought about it? Because new album or new songs, probably
Yeah.
normally a band plays 3, 4 new songs. Have you guys thought about what's going to happen for the set list for the next tour?
We are discussing it as we speak. Actually, we have a uh, email thread with like song suggestions, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. There's quite a few albums now, and but I feel we've had sort of the same set list for a while now, more or less. So I think it's time to bring in some some old songs that we haven't played in a while, and maybe a few songs that we have not played at all, and then sort of mix that up with what with that sort of the staples, and then also managing to put some new songs from Give Us the Moon in there. So that's gonna be a very tough balance right there. But I think we're getting close.
Well, what do you think would be the average number of songs on the set list for the tour? Have any idea? 15, 16?
Yeah, 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's not going to be easy to put
No,
music
no, it's very
and
hard.
then
It's very hard.
just.
Yeah.
And, for those who haven't never seen the Night Flight Orchestra live, do you think they'll
Hmm.
be ready to dance? Because it's mandatory when you watch
Yes.
Night Flight
Yeah.
Orchestra, to dance, to be able to enjoy yourself. And we're talking
Yeah.
about metalheads normally. And, they can be a bit shy when it comes to
Yeah.
free themselves for for that kind
Yeah.
of music. So what can we expect?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, they just need to let go, and I think it is, when we play live, it's very much of a celebration. I mean, if you listen to our music on our albums, and hearing us live, it's on a whole different level, and yeah, you can really we have such a mixed crowd as well. It's like people from, there's people who discovered Night Flight and then later on, oh, I heard you guys are in a metal band too. It's like, wow. And then there's the prog dads, and then there's it can be college students with braces, and I don't know, it's like it's all over the place,
Yeah,
and then metal fans, black metal patches, and normally these people don't go to the same shows,
yeah,
and so I think Nightfly has that unifying factor, and I think it creates a special vibe, at the end of the night when everybody sort of unites and do a conga train, or dance or whatever, and so I think it's these songs are also, as much of attention to detail we put in the studio, they're also made to be played live in many
yeah,
ways. I think it really, we manage usually to translate what, the joy and the passion that we've had recording these songs in on stage as well, and see so many smiling faces, and a lot of people that might mostly, go to metal shows, that they definitely experience something completely different,
yeah. And
so yeah.
and and stage wise, are you guys planning anything new for the to bring to the stage? Is there any ideas, anything that you can talk about, or you're just going
Yeah,
to
I mean,
let that?
yeah, yeah, it's always, I mean, it's still, we're 8 people, and it's not really, we're not playing the, Hammersmith Odeon. So it's yet. uh So it's a bit of a challenge, to create a vibe on the stage, as far as stage production goes.
Yeah,
But we're really, that's another thing we're discussing right now. We're trying to really make a really nice setting that is uh, going along with the music and the vibe,
yeah,
of the show. So I think we will bring something new, and what exactly that's gonna be, I can't really say right now, but we're gonna make our very best,
yeah,
to have the full concept to give the best rock show possible.
yeah. And I remember first time you played here was with Soilwork. It was the
Mm.
tour that you guys did with Nevermore. That was
Exactly.
many, many years ago. Do you remember
2001.
2001? Yes.
Yeah.
Do
Yep.
you remember that tour? If Nevermore were on top form back then. You guys were starting, and
Yeah.
you know, how was that tour for you and for you guys back then?
Yeah, it was our first long tour. It was 5 weeks through Europe in a really shitty tour bus, that we shared together with Rawhead Rex. I remember that.
Yeah,
But it was a great tour, and seeing Nevermore at the top of the game, was incredible, and Annihilator was fantastic too.
yeah,
It was a really cool experience, and I remember we played at the Hard Club, the
yeah,
old location.
yeah.
That used to be prison, I guess, or no? Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was back then, but it was the one near the river. They had
Yes.
blocks.
Exactly.
It was fantastic, fantastic
Yeah.
venue back then.
Yeah. Really cool. I remember that. Uh, yeah, and then we were supposed to play in Lisbon, but it got canceled for some reason. I can't remember. It was like,
You guys did play. It was first Lisbon and then Porto. You guys played in Lisbon. It wasn't Lisbon. It was just outside Lisbon.
and a big tent, right?
I can't rem. I honestly, I know I saw the show. I was there because I did the two shows. I did the one in
Oh,
Lisbon
you did both. Okay, okay,
and
yeah.
I did Porto, but I think it was moved to. I think it was on the other side of the river so it was in Almada somewhere. I cannot remember.
Right.
I know Rawhead Rex started when the doors were opening. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they hit the stage. No one was there because the doors
No, exactly.
opening. I remember, whatever happened that day, for them it
Yeah,
was awful because I remember I was there. I was photographing. I still have photos of those two
yeah.
shows, and I remember just running to the pits for Rawhead Rex and seeing people starting to walk into the venue and they were
Oh,
already
yeah.
playing. Good
Yeah,
old
that's
rock and
nice.
roll days, man.
Yeah, exactly.
For opening bands was a bit, they were treated badly, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it's gotten a little bit better, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah, depending what tour it is, of course. But yeah,
yeah,
hopefully a little bit better.
yeah. All right, Bjorn, thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in Lisbon in
Thank you.
February, finally with the Night Flight Orchestra. I saw you guys
Yes.
very briefly at Bloodstock when you guys played the tent. So it was your first time at Bloodstock. I think you guys played again
Yeah.
recently, but I just was
Yeah. This
tired.
year. Yeah.
I was so tired on from the festival. I say I have to see the Night Flight Orchestra. You guys hit the stage after the
Yeah.
first thing I left. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
because I was tired, not because
I know.
I didn't want. I just
I
couldn't
understand.
handle anymore in the festival. It was very heavy. Anyway, thank you very much for
Yeah.
your time. All the best for the upcoming tour, for the new album. Excellent
Yeah.
record. You know,
Thank you.
great songs. So hopefully you'll play some good chunk of it on the upcoming tour. All right.
Cool. Yeah. I'll do that. I'm looking forward to see you in Lisbon.
Yes. Thank you very much. Have a great day
Thank
and
you, sir.
see you next year. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Take care, man.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.